The mortar blast shatters the night, and the boy Han Junwoo, still raw from his mother's death, grabs the trembling hand of a silent girl, Lee Minaseo, and darts onto the endless, cracked road. Their feet pound dust as the horizon's dome looms. Wraiths screech overhead, and a lone bus shell shelter thunders away, promising a fragile, desperate hope beyond the darkness.
The boy lunges forward as the blast shatters the night, yanking the trembling girl's wrist and dragging her onto the endless asphalt. Dust chokes their breaths, but the road stretches ahead like a promise, each footfall echoing against the silent dome. Together they sprint past the wreckage, eyes locked on a horizon that might finally reveal freedom.
He keeps moving, feet pounding the cracked earth without pause. The rhythm becomes his only companion, a pulse-pounding chant against the silence. Sweat drips, mixing with grime, but he ignores the sting, driven by an invisible tether to something beyond the wreckage. The endless stretch offers no landmarks, only the steady hum of his own breath. Every step erases a fraction of his grief, but also deepens his fatigue, turning his legs into lead. The price he pays is the slow erosion of his strength, his body edging toward collapse. Still, the road refuses to end, and his resolve is tested further. He stumbles upon a rusted school bus, its doors ajar like a wounded beast. Exhausted, they collapse onto the cold concrete, the night swallowing their shallow sighs. The boy wants answers, why she's there, why the world erupted. Yet the girl's silence holds the same hollow grief. Their throats dry, words stuck like shattered glass, the darkness pressing in like a weight. Minutes stretch, each second a test of endurance, until the quiet finally breaks with a soft, nervous chuckle from the boy, a thin veil over his terror. The cost? Their fragile hope teeters on the edge of collapse. You watch them stare, eyes locked, the world reduced to a single breath between them.
A deafening metallic clang erupts, hurling a shockwave of dust that forces the boy and girl to dodge as the ruined road snaps open, revealing a yawning abyss beneath their feet. Their trembling grip tightens, each breath a promise to survive, while the girl's silence shatters, exposing raw grief that threatens to consume the boy's desperate hope for a sanctuary. A distant rumble rolls from the abyss, hinting at an unseen force poised to rise, leaving them stranded on the cracked stone, with no clue whether the horizon offers rescue or further ruin. The snakes are hiding in plain sight. Subscribe to Manwa with Hari. The boy bolts as the stranger's scream shreds the sky, sealing their fate. He darts forward, lungs burning, desperate to outrun the raw terror echoing behind him. The girl keeps pace, eyes fixed on the endless road, refusing to glance back. Their only goal: find any scrap of shelter before night falls. The cracked earth offers no cover, and the distant howl of the man grows louder, a reminder that safety is a mirage. They stumble into a shallow dip, hoping the terrain will slow their pursuer. The boy's heart pounds, his mind screaming that every second counts. And that's not even the worst part.
Run faster, we can't stop now.
The boy's heart pounds as the stranger lunges, a guttural scream tearing through the silent plain. The girl, eyes sharp, pulse steady, grabs his wrist and darts toward the rusted fence. They sprint, dust choking their lungs, while the madman's ragged laughter echoes behind them, a grim reminder that every step forward could be their last. The night swallows their silhouettes as they slip past the last broken barrier. Their bodies press against cold walls, the faint hum of distant machinery vibrating through the concrete. Every breath feels like a stolen secret, each step a gamble with the unseen watcher above. The girl's hand grips the boy's sleeve tighter, her eyes scanning for any sign of pursuit.
The girl snatches the terrified boy and they burst through the rusted gate, just as the gaunt stranger lunges, his guttural scream echoing across the cracked plain while dust swirls around their fleeing forms. Their desperate escape shatters the fragile hope of safety, leaving the boy trembling between newfound freedom and the crushing weight of a world that could snatch them apart at any heartbeat. A distant, ominous hum rises from the dome's unseen sensors, and the stranger's shadow looms behind the fence, promising a relentless pursuit that could drown their fleeting victory. That betrayal stung. Subscribe to Manwa with Hari for the payback. The boy staggers through the choking mist, his throat raw from thirst, while the girl clutches the broken water bottle they'd salvaged. Their pursuer collapses, coughing up blood, and the children finally realize no adult will save them. Together they sprint onto the endless, cracked road, eyes fixed on an unseen horizon that promises either salvation or ruin. The boy drags his trembling companion into the gutted cellar, whispering that the war's night will be their last chance to slip past the guards' lanterns. Their stomachs roar, yet they swallow dry air, eyes fixed on the cracked hatch. When the captain's boots thud louder, the children's resolve hardens. Survival will no longer be a gamble. It becomes a promise.
The boy forces himself to read the cracked wall, searching for any clue left by survivors. His fingers trace faded symbols, his mind racing to decode a map to safety. The cold stone bites his skin, reminding him that every second wasted is another step toward death. He manages to piece together a direction, pointing toward a distant tower that might hold shelter. He thrusts the shaky hope into the boy's trembling hand, urging him onward. The cost is a burning headache from the strain, and the mist whispers louder, as if sensing their resolve. He has no idea what's waiting. The boy stumbles forward, his vision blurring as the mist thickens, each breath a sharp sting. The darkness tightens around them, each breath a whisper in the stale air. The boy's fingers trace the cold stone, searching for a loose brick, while the girl watches the guard's twitching shoulders. Their goal sharpens. Find a flaw in the wall before the guard finally slumps. The guard's fatigue becomes their obstacle, his slow breaths a metronome counting down. The boy pushes a hidden stone, feeling it give under his palm, and a narrow crack yawns open. Light seeps in, carving a thin path to freedom. The cost. A sharp shard slices the boy's palm, blood staining the dust. What comes next changes everything.
The boy forces the stubborn stone aside, widening the crack just enough for the girl to slip through and plunge both of them into the stale, suffocating air beyond the cell. Their desperate escape fuels the guard's fury, turning his dread into a razor-sharp blade that stalks the hallway, while the boy's hunger gnaws at his resolve and the girl's hope flickers like a dying lantern. They stumble toward the distant horizon, breath ragged, as the night's mist coils tighter and an unseen threat looms, leaving the fate of the guards collapse and their salvation hanging in the darkness. A true mastermind doesn't need to lift a finger. Subscribe to Manwa with Hari. The kids clutch a cracked water bottle as a gaunt survivor slips from the shadows, rifle trembling in his hands. He flashes a scarred badge from a unit that abandoned civilians, eyes flickering between hunger and remorse. After a tense stare down, they share the water, each sip a fragile treaty. The boy whispers that the stranger's presence finally chases away the echo of his loneliness. The children hold the cracked bottle tight while the gaunt survivor emerges from the wreckage, eyes darting between the dying horizon and their trembling hands. He lunges, demanding the last drops. The boy steadies his grip, the girl's voice shaking with a promise of shared safety. The man pauses beside a broken metal crate, pulls out a tiny rusted key, and works the lock. The key sticks, the lock groans, and a thin coil of wire pops out, clattering on sand. Inside lie a handful of dried rations and a cracked compass. The children's eyes widen. Relief battles suspicion. He pockets the compass, a silent promise to find a way out, while the kids clutch the rations, their stomachs finally quiet. Tension spikes as distant rumble grows louder. A convoy of armored drones approaches. The man shouts, "If you're done, hurry up, we'll go without you," urging the children to move faster. The boy imagines a world where every pair walks side by side, sharing water and fire. He whispers that if everyone could be as close as they are, nobody would need to strike first. He envisions strangers lowering weapons, loneliness fading into quiet companionship. The thought glimmers, but the harsh road gnaws at him. Every step still risks betrayal. Every shadow could hide a knife. Still, he clings to the vision. Without it, the road would swallow him whole. What comes next changes everything. The boy hears the man's quiet question linger in the wind, asking if friendship can truly grow. He recalls the girl's dying wish that they never walk alone, and feels a spark of resolve. The stranger snaps a rusted can against a rock, then pulls a thin wire from his coat, turning it into a trembling fishing line as the boy watches, desperate for any catch before nightfall. The boy feels hope surge as the stranger's confession cracks his own isolation, offering a fragile promise of companionship that could save both from the desert's relentless cruelty. The wind carries the stranger's lingering question, "Can trust bloom here?" While the makeshift line trembles, threatening to snap, and the empty canteen glares, leaving survival hanging by a thread. Something major happens to this character very soon. Subscribe to Manwa with Hari before the spoilers find you. The moon rises as the stolen relic shatters, tearing reality apart. Jinwoo hears a distant scream. His pulse spikes, and he lunges toward the crack where dark energy spills. He wants the portal sealed before the abyssal tide floods his world, but the fissure spits out swirling vortexes that slam him back. He grabs a jagged stone, hurls it into the heart of the rift, and a flash of light erupts, buying him a few seconds of breathing room. The cost is raw pain lancing through his arm, blood staining his palm. He barely makes it out, and the nightmare only begins. Jinwoo slams the ancient lever, forcing the shattered relic's moonlit fissure to sealing the portal as dark energy spews outward, tearing reality itself. Blood drenches his armor, yet his heart ignites with fragile hope, knowing the abyssal roar fades while the two desperate children stare at an unforgiving, sealed horizon. The children remain stranded on the cold shore, waves clawing the horizon, while an unseen abyssal presence watches, promising a darker tide that threatens to swallow everything. The backstory changes the whole perspective. Subscribe to Manwa with Hari so you don't miss it. Sniper fire erupts. They have minutes before the smoke chokes the sky. The suited man orders a quick sweep, fearing the loot is already taken. The boy hears the crack, eyes darting for the source. He shouts, "Are we too late? Others must have looted already." The girl grips his arm, urging a look around despite the danger. A sharp report rings again, confirming a hidden sniper. Their breath rattles, muscles tense, as they scramble for cover, knowing every second draws the bullet nearer. The suit-clad figure points toward a shattered doorway, promising a chance if they move fast. The gunshots aren't over yet. The sniper's burst shatters the quiet. Bone-white fear spikes in the boy's chest.
The boy clutches the cracked walkie-talkie, his voice trembling as he reports a lone silhouette marching through the ruined boulevard. The girl, eyes darting behind the soot-stained window, steadies his hand and whispers, "We won't let them find us." Outside, the suited man watches the flickering screens, his grin tightening. Every favor he hands out maps a new trap.
Join the Hari squad with a sub before the system crashes. What mission does the stranger bring? The suited man leans close, eyes never leaving the flickering monitors. He demands the boy watch every armed figure, report the screen number on the walkie-talkie, and promise obedience. The suited man forces the trembling pair into his bunker, slams the door, and commands the boy to track a looming B1, a marked truck, while bandaging his shattered leg, his cold stare promising deadly obedience. The boy risks losing his fragile humanity as he obeys, his trembling hands clutching the cracked walkie-talkie, while the girl watches helplessly, fearing the loss of any chance at freedom. The rumbling engine approaches, the monitor flickers with unknown threats, and the suited man's ultimatum hangs in the air, leaving the trio's fate teetering on a single, unresolved transmission. You made it to the end. That means everything. Subscribe to Manwa with Hari and I'll see you next chapter. The boy staggers onto a cracked shoreline, lungs burning as the salty wind drags ash across his skin. He clutches the girl's frayed scarf, the memory of her final gasp in the kitchen looping like a broken record, her fingers slipping from his. From the mist, a lone Skyguard captain steps forward, rifle catching the dying light, eyes narrowed like a steel trap. "You're not alone," he growls, and the boy's trembling hand clenches tighter around that thin thread of hope. The boy drags himself across the cracked sand, each breath a ragged gasp as the wind carries the bitter scent of Myra's mist. The boy staggers onto the cracked sand, blood still seeping from his sister's kitchen doorway, and collapses as a lone Skyguard captain. Lee Junho eyes him from the mist-shrouded horizon. Junho's hand tightens on his rifle, the weight of General Carson's doctrine echoing in his mind, while the boy's terrified stare asks only one question. Will anyone still fight for a world beyond the mist? The darkness deepens, and the next move could decide who lives and who vanishes. The boy staggers onto the cracked, wind-scoured shore as a lone Skyguard captain. Lee Junho emerges from the mist, rifle glinting, and points a cold, unblinking stare directly at him. He clutches his sister's lifeless hand, feeling the ember of hope sputter into ash, realizing his desperate quest for survival now balances on a razor-thin thread of betrayal and loss. Junho's grip tightens around his weapon, a silent promise of imminent confrontation, while the endless mist swallows the horizon, leaving the boy's fate trembling on the edge of oblivion. He's the only one who found the exploit. Subscribe to Manwa with Hari to watch him use it. Lee Junho staggers through the battered clinic, the cold doctor soldier barking orders while the boy trembles with a loaded rifle. The doctor forces Junho into a firing line. The target spins, a child's silhouette flickering. Junho's finger pauses, his heart thudding for the girl he lost, and the shot never leaves the barrel. The room erupts in stunned silence. The doctrine of roads always end, cracking under a single act of mercy. The boy darts into the sterile barracks, eyes blazing as Dr. Kwan forces his hands onto the cold rifle. When the target appears, his finger trembles, then slips. He refuses to pull the trigger. The doctor steps back, eyes narrowed, then nods slowly. "You've passed the test." The boy feels a cold surge of relief mixed with dread, knowing the trial is over but the war inside him rages on. He pockets the rifle, aware that every future command will test his limits anew. The corridor beyond looms, filled with shadows of unknown enemies and possible allies. He steadies his breath, ready to walk the endless road toward a horizon that may finally break. He has no idea what waits at the end. The answer is already too late. Dr. Kwan shoves a cold rifle into Junho's trembling hands, forces him to line up the lifeless target, and watches as he squeezes the trigger only to lower the barrel, sealing the brutal test. Junho feels a jagged mix of relief and crushing loss, his heart pounding with Hannah's fading smile, while his soul fractures under the weight of forced killing and the cold approval of his merciless superiors. The captive's bruised leg trembles, the whispered promise of vengeance hangs in the sterile air, and Junho stands at the edge of an unseen battlefield, unsure whether his newfound clearance shields or condemns him. I spend hours crafting these recaps so you can enjoy them in minutes. If you appreciate that, subscribe to Manwa with Hari. The pantry erupts in a cascade of broken crates, yet the crucial ingredient remains absent, threatening the entire plan. Lee Junwoo curses under his breath, his eyes scanning the wreckage for any clue. He needs the spice to finish the rations that will keep the Skyward Guild moving forward. The only thing standing in his way is the empty shelf and the ticking clock of the Overseer's patrols. He grabs a nearby metal pipe, pries open a hidden compartment, and discovers a torn ledger that hints at a secret storage room deeper in the tower. The discovery fuels his resolve, but the hidden door guards itself with a humming electric field. You hear the child's voice trembling, pleading for freedom as the guard's silhouette looms. The boy, clutching a rusted key, begs the little girl to release him from the locked cell. The guard steps forward, his eyes cold, asking, "Are you his daughter?" The girl, eyes wide with fear, replies, "I just came in here to find some meat." The guard's grip tightens, his mind racing between duty and the lingering guilt of taking lives. The boy, shaking, whispers, "Then little girl, free me." Their desperate exchange fuels a fragile bond, each hoping the other can break the chain of captivity.
You made this on your own? Yes, recipe from a book.
The man in the suit steps out of the darkness, his voice flat as steel. He confirms the children's escape was part of his hidden design, a test he set months ago. He tells them to grab what they need and leave the facility before dawn, knowing the Overseer's patrols will soon close the gates. The children scramble, their bags heavy with stolen supplies, while the man watches the door seal shut behind them. The price is his own freedom, locked away by his own gamble.
So you let them go? See? I let them go. All right, good job. Don't worry. This was my plan all along. Yes, it's today.
The girl snatches the glinting keys. The boy whispers a desperate tunnel route, and they sprint into darkness just as the armored commander's monitors flash red, triggering a deafening alarm that seals the hallway. The boy clutches the girl's arm, feeling hope surge as freedom beckons, while fear gnaws at the girl, knowing every second could seal their fate and betray the fragile trust they've built. The looming horizon stretches endless, the distant ban echoing through the intercom. An unseen Overseer patrols loom, leaving the pair stranded on a narrowing path where any misstep could spell their ultimate doom. The blood is already spilled. Subscribe to Manwa with Hari for the aftermath.
The night settles like a soft blanket as the boy and girl huddle by the crackling fire, trading jokes about rhinoceroses and daring each other to stay awake. Their laughter fades when distant gunfire shreds the quiet. The girl leans in, whispering the name Horizon she'd heard soldiers mutter. Maybe a hidden refuge awaits. Instinct snaps them upright, packs thudding against their backs as they sprint toward the endless road's promise.
The boy huddles beside the flickering fire, eyes bright as he whispers, "Did you sleep well?" The girl giggles, pulling her blanket tighter, then admits, "You should rest a little more."
The boy wrestles the dying fire from the wind, thrusts his battered pack into the blaze, and the flames roar back, illuminating a snarling, twisted metal maze that threatens to swallow them whole. The girl clings to the boy, her breath ragged, fearing abandonment as hunger gnaws her stomach and cold bites deeper, while his desperate search for food risks tearing them apart forever. A guttural growl erupts from the darkness. The shadowed hallway seals shut, and the fire sputters, leaving their fate hanging on a flickering ember that may ignite salvation or doom. Lock in your weekly entertainment. Hit subscribe on Manwa with Hari and let the stories come to you.